What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my banner breakdown and analysis of the Hero Rises banner featuring Seiros, Legendary Dimitri, Legendary Corrin and Ninja Lyn. So this is possibly one of the best banners that we have ever gotten because of its sheer value. The fact that there is 2 legendary units, 1 mythic unit and 1 seasonal duo unit present on this banner is absolutely amazing. There's also Spark system present on this banner. So I'll be going over my opinion of these units, what kind of skill options you could run on them, how you can use their fodder, and at the end of the video I'll go over my opinion of which unit you should try to spark depending on your circumstance. As always, if you guys do enjoy these kinds of analysis videos, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And with that said, let us begin. Legendary Dimitri is definitely one of the better lance units present in the game because of his preferred weapon and atrocity preferred skill. So Legendary Dimitri also has pretty good stat spread with high base 41 attack, having an attack super boon in it, and really good speed at base 41, which goes really well with the damage reduction that he has got going, and his defense is also pretty nice. AR T27, his preferred weapon, gives him -1 special cooldown, and it's really easy to trigger the effect of this weapon. He just needs to be above 25% HP and he'll get +5 to all of his stats and also damage reduction based on speed. So having this built into his weapon is absolutely amazing, and especially with his high speed, this is really good. His slot B skill Atrocity makes him even better because this provides you with the true damage, and that is really good for a lot of his matchups. Even against green units, he can do a good amount of damage because of Atrocity, and the fact that he gets -1 special cooldown from his weapon means that he can just spam lower cooldown specials, so that is really amazing. Atrocity also has the Spectrum Smoke built into it along with Pulse Smoke, so that is really good for fighting many units at the same time. Atrocity definitely makes Legendary Dimitri quite unique. If you want to run some skills on him, then Sturdy Impact works as a slot A, but if you want to have a mixed phase option, then Fury also works, and by far the best option for his slot A is Distant Counter. Even though he has really low resistance, the thing is that AR T27 with its extra stats and the damage reduction just kind of makes up for it, honestly, and you can also run resistance boosting Sacred Seals. So Distant Counter is not a bad option because he could still deal with mages, and that is really good. And you can also run Heavy Blade or Flashing Blade 4 in his slot A because he can actually function as a really good Gale Force unit because Gale Force becomes a 4-turn special because of AR T27, and he also comes with Odd Tempest, so he basically becomes a 3 movement Gale Forcer, and that is definitely a role he can also do. You don't really need to change Atrocity for anything. In slot C, Odd Tempest just works, but you could also use Time Pulse with like a 1-turn special like Ruptured Sky or Glimmer, and that way you can actually trigger it twice in a combat in the player phase, and that is really strong. For the max arena scoring, you will have to run a tier 4 slot C skill, and Giant Drive speed is basically the best one. If you want to have another smoke on him, then Panic Smoke does work and will just add up with Atrocity. And for his Sacred Seals, you could easily run a solo skill that can give him extra speed and extra resistance. That is definitely an option. And overall, his fodder is pretty good. He does have Sturdy Impact and Odd Tempest. Odd Tempest is the most unique one. We do have Sturdy Impact in the Divine Code section. So Odd Tempest is only present on him, and it's a fairly unique skill. Even though it's not like a extremely good skill, it is a bit inconsistent because it only works half the time, and many times units will have more consistent options. Still, Odd Tempest does have its usage, and here are some like examples of how you could use this. Basically, Duo Pala is the best user of Odd Tempest in the game in my opinion because of her duo skill. So you could use her duo skill to get 3 movement on the even turns, and then Odd Tempest gives you the 3 movement on the odd turns, and that's why you could easily use her with Odd Tempest. Of course, a premium option, but still, I have to just mention her when we're talking about Odd Tempest. Mirabilis is also an option for Ether Raid's defense and can allow her to match up the movement of a cavalry unit on like a turn 1 initiation team. If you want to know more about it, how you could do it, then I have made recently a video on the Dancer Trap teams, so that will help you. So Odd Tempest on Mirabilis is definitely an option, and then you pretty much have to run this on like a flying unit or an infantry unit who can Gale Force, and that's going to be the main usage of Odd Tempest. You want to abuse the player phase of these units. Now, to be fair, on the flying units, a range skill is going to be much more consistent, so I kind of prefer that. So he does have pretty unique fodder. Seiros is a blue infantry dragon, and she's an anima mythic unit who can increase a slot in your Ether Raid's defense team in the anima season. So she inherently has a lot of value just because of her utility in Ether Raid's defense. For her weapon, she does have Aurora Breath, which gives her +3 attack, which makes her even more powerful. And in the player phase, she gets +6 attack during the combat, and she can make a guaranteed follow-up attack, so she basically gets an auto follow-up. In the enemy phase, however, when she's gonna get attacked, she's instead gonna get +6 defense and resistance, and she can stop the follow-up attacks of the enemies. So in the player phase, she gets the auto follow-up, and in the enemy phase, she gets the follow-up negation. And this pretty much makes it so that with an impact skill and like Quick Repose Sacred Seal, she can attack twice herself in both phases, but not let the enemy double her. So this definitely makes her quite tanky. And speaking of being tanky, she brings a new line of skill for the dragon units in Dragon Wall, which is a resistance-based damage reduction skill that any kind of dragon can inherit despite their movement. Wings of Light is her exclusive skill, and this is going to be pretty useful in Aether Raid's defense, especially if you have someone like Thrasir or like Lif or Duma. These can get the extra stats and they really appreciate this kind of thing, and they can be really threatening, especially if they are like left behind along with Seiros. So the extra stats that she can give is really useful to these mythic units. Keep in mind she can only give these stats to the mythic units and not just any kind of other unit. Her stat spread is really min-max with high base attack at 42 and pretty nice balanced bulk. Like I said, Seiros does open up the 7th slot in Aether Raid's defense, and if you want to know more about it, then I have made a very comprehensive video on it, on how it works, how you can use it, and how you can counter these kinds of teams that abuse the 7th slot. So make sure you check that video out, linked in the description right below that like button. And with that said, let us move to the skill options for Seiros. So Mirror Impact is pretty good, but honestly with her kind of bulk, Distant Counter does make sense if you want to have more investment on her, and if you want to use her in Aether Raid's defense with a really oppressive team that can guard a lot of your structures, then an ARD skill like ARD Attack Risk can give her extremely high resistance for Dragon Wall and really good damage output. Unity skills are also really good, because debuffs are pretty common in hands of offensive players, and Unity skills can definitely help you just buffer up, so that's an option. For slot B, Dragon Wall is pretty much going to be the best option most of the time, but Wings of Mercy is also an option, which I'm a big fan of, and this is actually something I'm using personally because she packs a punch and she can auto doubles, so she makes for a really great Wings of Mercy unit. Guard is also an option if you want to use her that way, but honestly the other two skills are probably superior. And for slot C, Wings of Light is an option, but Time Pulse could be used with Iceberg to make that a 2-turn cooldown special so that she can trigger that in a single round of combat. Odd Tempest is actually an option for her as well, and it's a really evil option that I've seen in like higher echelons of Vault of Heaven, and that's definitely going to be something you're going to be running into. For her Sacred Seal, Quick Repose is basically going to be the way you can double in the enemy phase, so that's an option, but Bond skills, Quick Impulse are also an option for Aether Raid's defense, as well as Hardy Bearing or any kind of support skill. For her special, like Glimmer, Moonbow, or Iceberg are a bit better. Glacis a lot of the times is going to be having too high of a cooldown, so that's why these other specials are a bit preferred in my opinion. So she's a pretty good unit, but her main value is in like Aether Raid's defense pretty much. She does have really unique fodder in Dragon Wall, and that's why she's going to be a really coveted option for many people who do have highly invested dragon units. Here are some examples of how you could use Dragon Wall on some of these easily mergeable dragons that a lot of people like to +10 merge. Enna is a really fantastic option because of her high resistance, and even though Noe does not have as much high resistance as Enna, she can still make use of this pretty well with her Purifying Breath and Speed Rest solo. And the thing with Dragon Wall is that because it is resistance-based damage reduction, it is not as hard to trigger like the speed-based damage reduction skills, because everyone is going to be stacking up speed, but most of the times the offensive threats, the very hard-hitting units, are not going to be having the highest resistance, so against them you can get the damage reduction with your dragon. Faye is also an option who can self-buff herself, and she also inflicts the attack and resistance debuff with her weapon Refine, so it of course makes it a pretty good option for her. For Noe and Faye, I do like to go with the speed IV and just the speed route honestly, because they can get pretty fast with their weapon Refines, and they can just naturally double if you invest into them this way. Nagi is also an option because, you know, armor units can run this, and AR Farsafe does have good synergy with Dragon Wall, giving them the extra resistance and also the extra attack stat. So any type of dragon regardless of their movement can make use of this. Legendary Corrin is easily one of the best dragons in the entire game because she has got a lot of things going for her which many dragons do not really have access to. Her preferred weapon Primordial Breath gives her -1 special trigger, which is really rare and extremely good for any kind of dragon, so she appreciates that a lot. And she of course has the adaptive damage, and if foe initiates combat or if the foe's HP is at full, then at start of combat she gets +5 to all of her stats, and she also gets special acceleration every time she attacks. so that is really consistent for triggering Negating Fang, which is also her preferred special. This preferred special gives her the damage reduction as well as the extra damage output. This is pretty much like a Draconic Aura, which is going to be present that can also work defensively. So this is a fantastic special, and because of the special she can also survive many of the effective damage from, Dragon Slayers and stuff like that. So Negating Fang and Primordial Breath make her a pretty unique dragon in my opinion. She also has really good stat spread where she's really balanced. She doesn't really have any kind of dump stat. In a way, she does have workable resistance. She does have pretty good offenses to be really fast so that she doesn't really get doubled too much, and she can easily charge up her Negating Fang again. So that's the strength of Legendary Corrin. If you want to look at the skill options, then she already comes with a perfect base kit, and Null Follow Up and Lull Attack Speed are some of the options which you could explore. Pulse Smoke could be useful in Ether Raid's offense, and Legendary Corrin is a fantastic double or triple tank in the win season, so she can be used there. Attack Smoke is an option if you want to make her bulky. And for her Sacred Seal, by far the best option is easily Mystic Boost, because she does have the damage reduction, she has extra damage output, special acceleration, pretty much everything in her base kit. The only thing that she's lacking is healing, so you could run Mystic Boost Sacred Seal, which is in my opinion the best Sacred Seal option, but she does have of course the other options if you want to run them. Legendary Corrin's fodder options are just so universally useful. There are so many units who would love to get distant counter, and with that you could inherit joint drive attack at the same time, which is easily one of the best Lotsie skills in the entire game because of its versatility. So she has got amazing fodder, and there are just so many units who could easily love having these two skills. So she does have a lot of value as a fodder, and it's just so universally useful. Ninja Lyn is easily one of the most destructive units in the game, definitely a 10 out of 10 unit, and that's why I've made a separate video on her, because she was a free unit that was given out to everyone. So make sure you check that. It's a very comprehensive video on Ninja Lyn, and you are definitely going to be enjoying it because this is one unit that everyone is going to be having, so you could check that out in the description as well. As for what unit you should spark, it really depends on what you summoned before until your 40 summons. If you care about Ether Raids, then Seiros is an easy spark option because you get guaranteed mythic that can add an extra slot to your Ether Raids defense, and that is really big and opens up a lot of strategies. Also, if you don't really care about Ether Raids but you have a highly invested dragon, then this is a pretty good chance of getting Dragon Wall from Seiros guaranteed, and Dragon Wall is easily one of the best skills for dragon units, especially if you have highly invested ones, which I showed you before. So in that case, Seiros is a really coveted option for your spark if you don't already have her. Legendary Dimitri on the other hand also does have pretty good fodder in Odd Tempest, which is pretty unique, but he himself as a unit is also pretty good. But as a one-off copy, I would probably say that Seiros is a bit more value because she doesn't really need a lot of merges for doing her utility in Ether Raid's defense, but still Legendary Dimitri is a pretty strong option. Ninja Lyn could be an option if you are trying to plus and merger, or if you really enjoy using Ninja Lyn, and if you would like to have one for each season in Ether Raids, one for the light season and one for the Astro season, then she could be a spark option. Absolutely, that could definitely help you. And if you have a highly invested flyer, then Swift Sparrow 3 and Speed Defense Rain is a pretty good option for them. And finally, we have Legendary Corrin, who is definitely one of the better dragons. Like I said, she does have pretty universal fodder, but distant counter isn't the hardest skill to get. So here, as far as the skills goes, Seiros and Dimitri have the rarest skills, and as far as the utility of these rare skills go, then Dragon Wall easily triumphs the other skills because nobody else in the game has got Dragon Wall, and it is such a good option for dragons. So it definitely depends a lot on which units you have pulled before. If any of these units are someone you want to use a lot, and if you got a bad IV, then maybe that could be something that you could spark for to just patch up that Bane, because getting any of these units, like extra copies on the normal banners, which they appear in usually, is going to be much harder. Now, as I said before, this is easily one of the best banners in the entire game that we have ever gotten. Still, you should not just fall for the pressure just because everyone is summoning on this. If you don't really fall into the criteria which I just listed for all of these 4 units, then you can definitely pass up on this banner if you're not really going to be making use of any of these units or their fodder. Just don't feel pressured is all I'm saying. You need to make sure that you're making a good investment with your orbs, and that is depending on your barracks and what kind of game modes and what kind of priorities you have in your gameplay. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are summoning on this banner, and if they have any kind of questions about the skill options or how they can use the fodder, this video will definitely try to help them. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as red and green stones on this banner. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.